I took a payout in less than 6 months of starting trading futures, and most people can never say that. And in this video, I'm going to explain exactly how I was able to do that. A little bit background of myself. I actually have been trading crypto for a lot longer. I started trading crypto probably when I was about 15 or 16. I started trading meme coins, and I've also done some other things as well in the stock game as well, but I've never really tried day trading futures until kind of like the end of last year in 2025. And now it is June. And last week I did just take a payout, but I started actually going like really hard, like wanting to start trading and seeing how far I can take this thing in January of this year. That's when I really, started in my journal, started going every day, locking in and learning exactly what I needed to do. So I did already have a little bit of a background in the trading space, but wasn't until really January of this year when I really started to actually lock in and try to, take this thing really seriously, trading every single morning. And I'm just gonna kind of give you guys some advice. I mean, there's a lot of people who say, it takes a year, it takes, a year and a half to get a payout. And at the end of the day, I think like a lot of people they want some secret sauce or something, but there is no timeline. Like genuinely, a lot of people want to be like, all right, if I work hard at this trading thing for 3 months, am I going to be able to get a payout? How much am I going to be able to make? And there really is no definite timeline at all because there are so many other really profitable traders that took a lot longer, right? You're on your own program. And that's like the main thing. And the main thing I see in the trading space is so many people want a definite timeline. And if they're like, I don't make this amount of money by this date, I'm quitting or something like that. Like it makes zero sense. You need to give yourself time to let your probability and just let your strategy play out. And yeah, you might have issues throughout the way. You might have psychology issues throughout the way. You might have doubts all throughout your journey, right? So that is one main thing of that I want to touch on first is you can't just set a time and then have a certain amount of money that you want to make in that time frame. That is not how trading works at all whatsoever. And another huge thing that I've seen why people takes a lot longer to be able to take payouts is genuinely just because they have shiny object syndrome of different strategies, if that makes sense, right? They'll decide, okay, I want to get into this trading thing, I want to make this work, and instead of actually, picking a strategy and sticking with it for a good long amount of time, they will pick a strategy. They'll start learning from one person, whether they're just learning on YouTube or they actually buy someone's mentorship or whatever, and they'll start learning for a couple weeks, a couple months, and then all of a sudden they'll go on TikTok and they'll see this guy who just bottom ticked a 10 RR trade. And then they'll go on Instagram and then they'll see some order flow guy talking about how bad ICT is. And then they'll go on Twitter and they'll see a trend line trader and that like they're all getting super confused about different strategies and so many different things, and they get this shiny object syndrome where they're looking at other mentors now and stuff like that. And that is probably one of the worst things you can do because you are basically telling yourself subconsciously, like, I don't know if this person that I'm learning from is really, the best person to be learning from, or maybe there's something better out there for me. And then all of a sudden you're not working on what you should be working on and you're trying something totally different without actually letting your strategy that you're learning play out. And I've seen that happen so much, especially on social media. So if you can shut your phone off or just not pay attention to any of these other traders that are probably really good traders with whatever strategy that they are using, understanding that every strategy works. Like I've seen so many different people trade so many different strategies, and people like to hate on different strategies for different reasons. But at the end of the day, every single one of them works if you put the time in and you actually let your strategy play out over a long period of time, not a couple weeks, not even a month or two, actually a good amount of time. And that's really the main thing that I have seen over the past few months of why people really struggle besides psychology. And I mean, psychology is a full different video, but this video is really going over how I was able to get a payout pretty quickly and how you can do the same. So if you really want to actually get a payout relatively quickly, pick someone. This is exactly what I did. I'm just giving you like the exact blueprint that I did. Number one, I found someone that I really admired their trading style of, and they're consistently winning, and something that I could definitely do the same, right? So I found someone that I liked watching that posted consistently, and I started watching their YouTube videos pretty consistently. And his trading style was a pretty high win rate and like a 1 to 1.5 to 1 to 2 on average RR. And I like that a lot, right? I like winning a lot. I don't like, there are a lot of strategies where it's a lot higher RR and then there's obviously a lower win rate with that. But honestly, I have a pretty big ego and I don't like losing. So I just like the high win rate, not as high of RR, but kind of just getting your piece of the pie kind of trading style. That's personally what I like a lot. And so all I did was I genuinely started watching these guys' YouTube videos, went through a ton, took a ton of notes every single day, and I started paper trading for the first like month and a half. I started with 100K in my paper trading account. I ran that up to like $115,000 in just like paper money or whatever in like a month and a half or so. And then I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get my eval. I ended up blowing my first eval, and then my second eval, I passed and got that payout on that eval. It took a while because I had a couple different psych obviously issues. But one thing I would really recommend is honestly finding someone who you kind of admire as far as the way they can explain things, make sure that they're actually reputable in the space and follow them along if they have some sort of free resource like a free Discord or like for something for free. Definitely take them up on that and like follow them along. And if you like what they have, then you can buy their actual mentorship. That's what I did, but you don't actually have to do that if you don't want to. I opted to do that because personally I don't like wasting time and I like getting things done quickly. And I understand that if you spend money, you're gonna get the information that you want a lot quicker, a lot faster because you actually have access to that person. But I know a lot of people that haven't bought mentorships and they're profitable too. But I knew that if I wanted to, make money, get payouts as soon as possible, and I wanted to do it the right way, being able to just pay someone for their time to ask them questions personally was probably going to be the best way to do so. So that's exactly what I did. I watched all their YouTube videos for the first few weeks, took a ton of notes, and then within like 2.5 or 3 weeks, I bought their mentorship. It wasn't the greatest just because he actually is like a pretty big he's a pretty big name in the space, so I didn't get a ton of access specifically to him, but I was still able to ask him a ton of questions and actually talk to him, which was good. But that's besides the point. The point of the matter is, if you do want to get, good somewhat fast, all I can say is stop worrying about putting a timeline on it. Find someone that you actually like their trading style of and only focus on that and don't focus on what anyone else says at all. Don't focus on Instagram or TikTok traders telling you something totally different, saying your strategy is trash, saying ICT is trash or whatever. Focus on yourself and focus on that process and actually let your strategy play out. Don't just listen to all the noise. And I also just think that, following along with someone when you're first starting out is probably the smartest thing to do if they're consistently uploading their videos. Because when you first start, obviously a lot of things are going to be confusing, and you might, watch their trade recaps or watch their just trade reviews in their Discord or whatever, and you might be confused. But over time, you're going to slowly start to understand. Okay, this is why he took this. This is why he faded this. Okay, I'm like understanding this a lot more now. And then once you're a couple months in, you're going to start taking the same trades as your mentor. And that's literally the best feeling. And that's exactly what I did, right? So I started trading. I was obviously confused, but I still had a good grasp over a lot of things just because I had traded crypto and meme coins. So I wasn't like brand new. And maybe that's why, I was able to get a payout like within 6 months or so of like really starting to trade futures. But I was able to, pick it up pretty relatively quickly and then start paper trading pretty relatively quickly and just seeing what what my like mentor was taking, and I would just say, okay, cool. So I took the same trade as him today. That felt great, right? That felt like a huge step in the right direction. And there are obviously other days where I didn't, but I still won, or I didn't and I lost. And there's so much to learn from that as well. So if you definitely want to actually lock in, I would 100% recommend, you know, everything that I've done, like, wasn't hard at all, in my opinion. All it really takes is an hour and a half a day to actually lock in, find someone you admire, learn the way they trade. I wouldn't even say learn their strategy because at the end of the day, I think the whole like strategies thing, like this is my strategy, like that's cool, but strategies change over time. Like no strategy, like a strategy that you can get taught today might change within the next few years. That's just how the markets work, and all markets work that way. So I'm not even like a big like strategy guy, but I think that if you can find someone that you admire their trading style of, right? Whatever it works best for you, whatever you like the most, stick with that. Don't get shiny object syndrome and try to switch it up randomly, and you haven't even let the statistic play out. And just stay locked in for a good amount of time, and everything will work out if you follow your rules and you don't crash out. But the psychology side of things is a whole nother video. I could rant forever on that, but I don't know. That was kind of a rant video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and subscribe, follow for more. I don't have anything to sell you.